be reading it out for you.
Hello learners, in this lecture we will see what is water curing and also we'll try to see what are the types of the water curing. So this is the best method of curing as it satisfies almost all the requirements like the promotion of the hydration, the elimination of the shrinkage, the absorption of the heat of the hydration, which is extensive and it is most extensively used. It consists of application of water directly on the surface of the concrete or by means of wet covering like the or you can make use of the sand, sawdust, and the hessian. Hessian is a kind of a cloth, and etc. We'll try to see that. So these are the different ways of water curing. So to be more precise, it has been divided into three different categories. If that is called as direct application, that water curing can be done direct with the help of a direct application. So in the direct application, we have immersion, we have ponding, and we have sprinkling or spraying of water. So coming to the immersion, so this is called as immersion, which is usually practiced at the laboratories and especially for the precast element. So what we try to do, you can call this as a kind of a curing tank when I say immersion. So prefabricated concrete elements are immersed in the curing tank for a required period. Precast elements like concrete poles, if you get a pipes, the door, window frame, lintels, the covers of the septic tank and the manhole covers, whichever are a precast, after concreting that we have to put them in the curing tank, right? So this is called as immersion since they have been immersed inside the water. The cement and the concrete test cubes, the cylinders, the beams, etc., which we usually do the testing in the laboratory, are also cured with the help of this immersion technique, right? So this is all about immersion. You can see the cylinder, the cube has been placed here, right? So that's how it goes. Yeah, you can see this. The another important thing is that you can say these are the sleepers. If you have seen the, if you have gone to the railway station, so we'll have a sleepers there, right? These are called as sleepers. So sleepers, and over that you are going to put the rail, right? And over that the train is going to run. So these are the sleepers. Even this is precast. We are going to manufacture them in the factory, and from the factory you are going to transport it to the place where the uh, laying of that sleepers is going on. So you have to do the curing of that, right? So this is a huge curing tank what they have, and they have done the immersion of this. So hence it is called as immersion of the sleepers. So this is also application of the direct application of the curing. Yeah. The next one what we have is called as ponding. So in ponding, what we do, ponding is mainly adopted for the surfaces members such as the pavement, floor, roof slabs, and sidewalks. If it's not 7, make it as and sidewalks, etc. In this method, a small dam of earth or water retaining material is placed around the perimeter of the surface. So what they have done, this is a slab what they have casted. So once they have done the casting of a slab, so since it's a very big, it's a huge area, you cannot directly lay the water, you cannot directly sprinkle the water over that. You have to create a small kind of bunch with the help of a cement paste, cement and the sand. With that mortar, we can try to create small bunts in this way. These are the bunts what they have created. And now if you store the water is going to stay for a very long time. So what a few people do, instead of making use of the cement paste, I mean the mortar, they even try to make use of the soil, right? Whatever soil, in the sense the earth, I mean whatever normal soil is available, and few people even make use of the sand. So with the help of a sand or a soil, they try to create a kind of a bund in this way, right? So that's what it is written here. uh, earth, right? Small dam of earth. And in the previous video it was written, even you can make use of the sand. The main intention is to make a bund something like this, to break the entire big slab into small pieces of the slab for the curing. Yeah. The next one we have is a sprinkling. So in this, what happens in this method of curing, water is sprayed for the with the help of a plastic pipes. Sprinkling of water provides very efficient curing because everywhere the water goes here. So what will happen is you are going to get a very efficient curing. The quantity of water required in this method is much more than the other method, obviously, because every time you're sprinkling the water, so what will happen, you will not have a control over the flow of the water. So that is why more water will be gone here. It can be used for curing of floor slabs, plastered surface, concrete columns and bridges and etc. Especially for the plastering work, we try to make use of this spraying, because for the slab we try to make use of the bund what we saw, that is called as ponding. We don't try to go with the sprinkling for the slabs, but for the column we cannot do ponding. There we try to go with the sprinkling or spraying of water. Even for the especially you can say for the vertical elements we can go with the sprinkling or spraying of water, like the columns, like the beams, and even for the plastering, the brickwork and all, you can go with the sprinkling technique. Yeah. So the next is that wet covering. So next method what we have is wet covering. So in case of sprinkling, the water method of curing, it is difficult to ensure all parts of the concrete be moist at all the time, right? That means, let us say you're standing here and you're sprinkling the water here. So you cannot assure that all the water will be sprayed on all the surfaces. Sometimes there may be some surfaces where the water has not reached. So this is what you mean by the first point. Therefore, sometimes the vertical or inclined concrete members are covered with help of a gunny bags or a jute matting, or also called as hessian cloth, to keep the concrete surface moist for the longer period of time. On horizontal members, sawdust, wet earth are used as a wet covering to keep the concrete wet for the longer period of time. The frequency of wetting the bags or cloth depends upon the temperature and the humidity of the air. This method is used for especially for the horizontal and for the vertical members. How it looks? So this is how we try to do. So this is called as, we can call this as a gunny bag. If it is a bit thicker, then we call it as a jute matting. And hessian cloth is also the same thing. So here we'll try to wrap the column, and once you try to sprinkle the water, since the cloth will be able to absorb the water, what will happen? The water will remain in on this cloth for a very long duration of the time. As a result of that, what will happen? You don't have to keep on spraying the water every now and then. So you have to just spray it in the morning, so that it will remain there for around 3 to 4 hours. Then again in the evening, or let us say afternoon, you have to sprinkle the water on the gunny bag. The same you practice for the slab also, but slab usually we go with the ponding only, because if you're going for the slab with the help of the cloth, then you require huge number of this gunny bag. So again, it's not that easy. The better is that do the ponding of that. Especially for the vertical element we go, again here also they have spread the gunny bag, but again okay, but again what happens, see, all the time it's not that on the horizontal element you will go with the ponding, because now what has happened here, they already prepared a concrete road here, right? It's a kind of a it's a pavement what they've constructed, and over this you cannot keep that, you cannot create a bund. So if you create a bund, again what will happen, everything will go waste here, because after that you have to remove the bund, right? So whatever road you have created, it will not look good later. So that is why what they have done is they have made use of a gunny cloth here. So this is also okay, especially for the industrial building. These are the steel structure what you can see, and this is the vertical element. Let us say they have created a wall, I guess, and this is a kind of a holder. What happens is that now it's okay when your surface is wet, nothing is going to happen. But when the surface is not wet, when it is dry, what will happen? There are chances that this gunny cloth, due to the movement of the air, they may try to fly out from here. So that is why what they have done is they have kept a small clip. This is like a small clip which will hold the gunny bag to remain in its position, right? So these are the different ways of curing, and whatever is required based on the requirement, we'll try to make use of them. Yeah, so that's it. And also, like, there was one more point here about gunny bag. So sawdust, wet earth are also used as a wet covering to keep the concrete wet for the longer period of time. So actually what happens, sometimes what we do is that we'll, let us say on the slab, we'll sprinkle the sawdust. We have seen what is sawdust. It is a waste which we get from the manufacturing of the plywood and all, right? So if you go to the sawmill and all, you get that waste. So again, if you try to sprinkle that on, I mean, if you try to keep that on the surface of the slab and sprinkle the water, again that will absorb the water, and water will remain there for a long period of time. But again, it depends on the availability of the sawdust. It's not that everywhere it's available, and even the transportation of the sawdust and all, it's quite difficult. So we usually don't go with that. The second was about the earth. The earth, in the sense, some people, what they try to do, they make use of the soil and they put the soil over the slab and then they pour the water so that even soil can retain the water for a very long time. But again, removing the soil once the curing is done is also a very difficult task. So we don't try to do with all those things. The simple thing what we follow is about the gunny bag, which is again simple, the best way to do. Otherwise, what few people do, instead of wrapping the gunny bag here, they're going to keep a plastic bottle over this. They're going to keep a plastic bottle over this, and they'll make a small hole to the plastic bottle, a very small hole, and this entire bottle will be filled with water. So what will happen, every now and then the water try to come out. So as a result of it, this entire column will get cured. So you have to refill this bottle for every 2-3 hours. It's a one way of doing. Otherwise, nowadays also few people, what they do, they tie a big plastic, a polythene sheet here. Again, in the polythene sheet you are going to fill the water, and a small hole is made to the polythene sheet. Again, that through that hole, small drops of water keeps on sprinkling on this surface of the column. So because of which the curing will happen, and there is no loss of water from the inside of the column, right? So these are different ways and different techniques of doing the curing. So in the next lecture, we'll try to see how the steam curing is done and what are different ways of doing a steam curing, that is called as membrane curing. So we'll see you back in the next lecture. Thank you.